Hello everybody, welcome to another day of Cosmoteer. Let's go ahead and dive right on into it, and I want to showcase with the new features, and I only discovered this not too long ago, but I was playing around with this quite a bit, and I know some people have watched and they've seen this particular ship that I've been working on quite a bit, and I made changes to it even more as I was playing around with it. So eventually from 1.6 I went to 1.7. And in 1.7 you can see I extended out the back armor because it needed more protection as I was playing with a whole bunch of ships and seeing the swarming method on it. Now what I want to showcase here as I was playing with it, and I'm still new to this all, but I played with it pretty extensively on many different occasions. And when you're looking at these reverse thrusts, and you can also see that there's frames on here to hold the actual back armor on. But I was playing with it to see, okay, what is the best amount of reverse thrust and why? And the main reason why this is such a big importance is with these new small little thrusters and also these other thrusters, two-way thrusters and even three-way thrusters, being able to have the self-regeneration on them, it opens up a whole new can of worms in the sense that you can be able to make different type of ships and totally different builds. Now you can see right here that these ones are actually running out of energy very quickly because they're a two-way, and a three-way runs out even faster. So using these as reverse thrust is actually not that good, as you can see. It looks cool aesthetically, but it doesn't work in an actual playthrough and being able to help you maneuver, and so eventually they'll run out of power and then you just have your regulars. Now the other downside of having thrusters in the back as well, and let me showcase this part of it, is if you have a multiple ships attacking you, and I'm going to use this ship because I do want to showcase this one too. This 20 crew ship is just pure amazingness when it comes to battling almost everything from what I've tested. But when you see right here, what happens is these actually become targets for the AI. So if you put reverse thrust on your back armor like I have here, if you have ships that can flank or come behind, and these ships are not doing what I want it to do, but if you have ships that come back behind, your thrusters actually become priority targets for the AI. So having too many thrusters in the back or thrusters that run out of energy, it can cause huge amount of issues where it provides vulnerability. So you definitely don't want to do that. Okay? Hopefully that explains that aspect of it. Looks cool, but runs out of energy too much. Now let's go into this next one right here. So this next one that we have right here is decided, oh, they all regenerate, so and if you have the amount of money for it, why not put just a ton of thrusters in the back, right? It gives you all this extra movement and there's all this extra reverse thrust, and you can move around with it. So let me showcase what the reason and the problem with having this many thrusters on the back of your ship. So let me go ahead and I'll pull in multiple of these. And let's pretend like we're actually in the game, and so we'll pull in 3 of these guys. And then let's take off these ones and let's go and test this. And this is why you always test your ships against multiple different opponents or different things that you see as will benefit you the most. And let's fight it against the Polaris. Now what you're going to see here is when you have 3 of these guys, the reverse thrust definitely gets you in position and it can make you stay stabilized very quickly. But just like how I was saying with the AI, it can target the back, and even though you're stabilized like this, now your ships are flying in a completely different pattern. And if any one of these thrusters run out of energy, then your ship will no longer start flying in the same pattern that you want. But as you can see right here, the back parts also can become targets for the AI. Yes, it gives you all this cool movement, but the biggest issue is when the missiles and everything take out your back armor, it becomes priority targets for the AI. They also cause explosion damage, and so it's explosion and fire damage when they actually take damage. So there is an actual limit to how many you want to actually put in so that your ships are flying just the right amount, because you can see right here it ran out of energy, and when it runs out of energy, your ships no longer fly the way you want them to. And Hoshell says, interesting. Yes, it's when you can put as many thrusters as you want on the back, but if you put too much, it actually causes problems. And the positioning of where you put your thrusters is also important. So I was playing around with it, and now let's go away from 1.7 and let's move on to the next one. So the next one I want to do That's exactly correct. More armor doesn't always provide more defense. It causes your ships to fly in such a weird, strange pattern, which can cause huge issues with your ship. So let's come over here to 1.8, which is the one that I ended up going on. And you're going to see how I position the thrusters, why I positioned the thrusters this way, and they're in key points where even if they take damage or even if the AI targets them, it's not that big of a problem for me, because you can also see I changed the back armor so that it's actually a little bit more layer stack, and I put just as much thrust in there in key positions. If even if they were to hit this one, they're going to hit for the boosters. And then now the ships are flying how I want them to. They're now more in a flanking pattern. They get into 3 different areas, right? Because if you've seen a lot of my gameplay, you get into the position that you want to. Now, 3 of these guys are not going to be able to take on the Polaris. You need 4 of them. But it's mainly the flight pattern of how your ships are flying, right? So when you get 4 of these guys in there, they will fly the way that I want them to fly, how I play the game. Now, you might want to play the game completely different, so it depends on how you want your thrusters in there. But if you just put too many thrusts, like, oh, I can put as much thrust as I want in there, too much thrust can actually be the downfall of how your ships are moving. And I tested this very extensively. Like, I know right here where I'm cutting it really short, but I literally came in, put 4 ships in, 5 ships in, put a whole bunch of different ships in, and just watched how they fly it around each other, because that's how I play the game, right? I play the game with multiple ships. And when you have lots and lots of different ships, depending on where you put your reverse thrust for these little thrusters, can play a huge key point. And then I've also tested it as well with having lots of little swarmers just with one single ship. And I watch where the AI, okay, where is the AI going to shoot? Where do I reinforce the armor? Why should I reinforce the armor there? Should I put too much armor or should I put less armor on there? And you can see right here, they're flying very differently, but they're flying in position and they fly in arc where I can get them where I want. And you can see right here, they do get semi-stuck in the spot, but they can pull themselves out if I need to, because I don't want too much reverse thrust. If you have too much reverse thrust, it eats so much energy, and then they're not pulling where they want to. Where you see right here, they're flying where I want to, they're keeping their distance, they give me that extra movement that I need for the reverse thrust, but I don't want too many. I want just the right amount, and I want them in key spots where the AI, when it targets them, because the AI will target those thrusters in the back if they get behind you, where it doesn't cause you vulnerabilities, too much vulnerabilities, where it just totally rips you apart. And you can see right here, 4 of them, they're flying where I need to. This one already lost too much thrust, so now it's having problems and it can't get close enough because the Polaris is trying to switch targets as they come in and out. But you can see right here, 4 of them can take on the Polaris, and I didn't take too much damage. And this is what I want, right? I want them to have the movement as needed. Now this one got crippled because the EMP missiles were hitting it, but this is more of the actual how it will look, right? This one didn't get hit by EMPs, but this is only a 34 crew ship, right? This ship doesn't have the full max crew of 50 crew. This is a 34 crew ship. It doesn't have a ton of people to make sure the boosters are going where they need to. But you saw in the beginning how they were flying, and they were flying in a formation and flying how you want them to fly. So too much reverse thrust, huge downfall to some of these ships. Now I still have to modify almost all my ships now with the new actual implementation of these actual reverse thrusts. But I definitely wanted to make sure that people understood that there is a fact of having just too much reverse thrust. You can totally have too much reverse thrust. It will cause you to either turn too fast or turn too slow. And here, I'll showcase this with the 4 of them, right? Too much. And then we'll also put in the other one too, 1.7, where it looks aesthetically nice to have 2-way thrusters, but when you have the looking like this, you're gonna watch how they fly. Very, very strange, right? These ones have the 2 thrusters. These ones have tons of thrusters on them. You can see right here, they're constantly thrusting, right? They have so much because it's trying to compensate itself, and then they'll run out of energy really, really quickly. And you can see right here, it fly. These are the ones with the 2-way thrusters. It looks cool, runs out of energy too quickly because it's trying to use it as actual reverse thrust. These ones right here, right? They're getting into strange positions. Actually, I clicked outside the game, and they just don't fly right. In fact, I'm thinking that even with 4 of these guys, because you see how they're flying all strange and funny and not getting in the position I want, or getting stuck on each other like this, they end up losing. So more thrust doesn't always work. As you can see, this one's crippled. It's not going to get into it. This one's basically stuck because it had a whole bunch of reverse thrust on it and it got stuck. And then these two right here, you can see this one, it ran out of energy, so my reverse thrust is now useless, right? Because it has a two-way. And then this one right here, it has all the reverse thrust, but it's just not flying the way I want it to. And eventually it just becomes a useless boat, right? And you saw how the other 4 ships easily took on this Polaris with very, very little damage. Where these ones, I basically have now lost all 4 ships. All because I put too much reverse thrust on them. So really, really, when you're modifying your ships with the new patches and you're modifying your ships to put in new things, really, really look to see where you put your movement, because it can be the downfall of how your ship flies. And these are all the new tests that people have to test with their ships, depending on what you're planning to fight. Polaris is a very common ship that you fight in the actual game. It's got a lot of missiles, it has a lot of everything on it, and you can see right here all 4 of the ships, which the other 4 were easily defeated. These 4, they basically may still beat it because it ran out of missiles, but I crippled the fleet completely, and it doesn't work as well. The other thing that I wanted to work on now, and I'm coming back to this one, now that I've hit on my spiel of reverse thrust, is this ship right here, this 20 crew man ship, and I literally tested it against so many different things. But you would think that this 44 crew and all these other ships should be able to beat this 20 crew ship. But this 20 crew mining laser ship, I'm totally going to use it in Grand Admiral, and I'm still trying to think of how to actually modify it and make it better. But my biggest issue is I don't have any more command points to spend on this ship to make it bigger. And I really, really like just 20 crew. And with 20 crew, this ship, which has been proven even on Grand Admiral, cannot beat it in a 1v1 AI. You'll notice that this ship will eventually win. Takes a long time to do it, but if you have multiples of these 20 crew ships, these mining laser ships, they just do insane amount of damage and are super tanky, as you can see right here. It's very, very tanky. And eventually it just rips through this other ship and beats it. And I literally went through testing of this ship against near all my lower costing ships in a 1v1, and this one can really dominate most of them. And then when you just put 2 of these guys in, they can take out an insane amount of things, or even if you put 3 of them in. And when you look at it right here, when you put in 3 of these guys, it's only 60 crew, and it's only 629. And you put in 3 of these guys, and then you were to say, okay, I want to try to test it against something bigger. I actually don't think I ever tested it against the cannon ships, but that would be a pretty good test, right? Just 3 guys. This is half the crew. 120 crew, 949,000. And I think this ship should sustain a decent amount of damage, but because of the cannons, the deck cannons are going to cause explosion damage and piercing damage, which is actually going to cause insane amount of damage on it. But when you're testing energy weapons against energy weapons, these guys do a really nice amount of damage. Their flight path is, you can see, is much closer, so the AI has decided to hit it a lot closer. But when you're fighting against deck cannons against this is basically a whole different tier, right? I'm fighting mining lasers against deck cannons. Deck cannons are projectiles, explosives, piercing damage, so it's very unfair advantage. But if I had the same amount of crew and the same amount of cost versus this one, now this guy would sustain a tremendous amount of damage. Now, energy weapons for the mining lasers against other energy weapons, these guys do very, very well. But the plan is to have multiple of these 20 crew ships and then mix them in with an actual damaging ship. So if I were to take even just 2 of these guys, right, and then I were to pick it in with an actual main damage ship, so maybe we'll do 1.8, and we'll do it like this: 74 crew, 888,000. We have 1 actual combat tanker, and then 2 of these guys that should be flankers, and then the AI, I know they changed the AI so whatever's closer, so these guys are actually going to get targeted first, or should. Yeah, the AI is going to target these guys, and you can see they get up close and then they tank, And then this guy right here can come from behind and hit the weak points right from behind. So that would be the actual point of these guys. And the nice thing too about them is, see how they have 20 crew? Even though you lose key sections of the actual just 20 crew ship, you don't lose all your crew members, so it's quickly easy to repair. Now the one thing that I want to actually put on this ship, which I still don't know where to put it, is the energy manipulator, so that I can help repair and build other ships, kind of like how this one has one. Manipulator beam, sorry, I keep calling it wrong. Manipulator beam. Put a manipulator beam on this ship. And then I also want to figure out where I want to put reverse thrust on this thing. Actually, I don't even want to just put reverse thrust on these tiny things right here on the end. No, I can't, because there's not enough command points. But you can see right here, 2 of these guys and 1 of these, very little damage, just armor, right? And then took out this other ship, no problem. The point of these is to do exactly what they're doing. Get up close, cause a disruption, force the AI to target on these guys, which these guys can tank, and leave my bigger actual combat ship to come in and blow it away. So these little guys are really, really cost efficient, cheap, but does good amount of damage. More than you would think. Much more than you would think. Right, I take 2 of these guys, and even if I were to take 2 of these guys and take it against energy weapons, right, against this, I don't think 2 can, I think it takes 3. Three of these guys, I'm pretty sure can take on this one bigger ship. Just because they're tiny little, annoying little 6 mining laser that just does crazy amount of damage. And then tanks for its cost, right? For 20 crew, I've tested this ship against so many other ships, and it literally can beat them all in a 1v1 just from the front to front battle. It's not going to stay right. This is actually a very bad position that it's in, all 3 of them, because they're stacked on top of each other trying to hit the front. They're not meant to do this. You're meant to actually come in from a different angle. Hi Alex. It's okay if you're late. You can always rewatch the live stream. I was literally just going over and showcasing this ship. This is the ship I'm probably going to use quite a bit in a Grand Admiral Challenge, and then they're probably going to get modified and changed some, but this is the one that I'm liking for the cost efficiency. And at some point I'm going to have to do a Grand Admiral Challenge with mining lasers and energy weapons, so it's going to be a very, very interesting state. And then I also need to change these ships too to put reverse thrust on it. So the other thing I'm wondering is, oh, they do fit. See, you can put reverse thrust here and here. And so instead of this little corner piece, you can have just a tiny bit of reverse thrust armor. And I could put it here. Put it on the corners, and that would add just a whole nother different aspect to this. There's so much to change now that you have these little tiny thrusters. And there's so much more changes to come too. Let me just make sure I'm working with the right ship. So come over here, you notice that I've organized my file a little bit better. This is the one I want to work on, because I've used this one a lot. And we'll pull in 1.8. I know, they're not even fair advantage. But what I want to do here... Oh, I don't even have any more command points. I've literally used every single command point on this ship. I need to rip something else off to make it so it fits. So, oh, it does have a... It has a manipulator beam. I totally missed that this one has a manipulator beam. Yeah, this ship is an in-game ship for sure. I don't think it needs a reverse thrust to do it, because it already has all this reverse thrust. There's no reason to put that in there. But this one works so much better with these reverse thrusts, just like this. The perfect amount. Yeah, the tiny thrusters generating their own power slowly is a game changer. Total game changer. 100% agree, Alex. There's so many different type of ships you can build. So many different things. At the beginning of this live stream, I explained the difference between having too much, too little, and why, from my own personal testing. Now, I'm still new to all this, because I haven't played around with it as much as a lot of other people, because it's been out for a while now. But from my own personal testing, you can definitely put too much thrust on the back of these ships, or any ship, and it can cause you a huge amount of problems from my own personal testing. Other people may see it differently, but that's just how I see it. And then there is just the right amount of thrust on it. Definitely just the right amount of thrust. Really like this ship. But when I come over here and I put in Holsip ship, the Holsip ship just has so much more power. So I come over to the Steam Workshop, and this ship right here, I know there are tweaks that can be done to it. I just haven't spent the time to look at it now. But this ship can be tweaked. So it's right here. He has all this thrust right here, but this thrust works great for how he has it set up, right? It's all on the inside. The AI is not going to target it from here. But I'm actually wondering if it's actually maybe too much, or is it just the right amount? The way he has it positioned, because he doesn't have the reverse thrust going this way and he has it just in the corners, Hosup's using these reverse thrusts specifically just for turning ability. So when it needs to create critical turns, you can see it's not constantly being used for anything for reverse because he has all these other ones for reverse for stopping power. These small thrusters, the way he has them positioned, is specifically just for turning. So it's not to stop the ship, it's not to slow the ship down, it's just to help the ship turn just that much faster. So in a swarming method, the way Holsup has it set up, I actually think he has it set up very, very well. Right? He doesn't have like insane amount of actual reverse thrust all over the place. They have specific purposes, and they're doing specific things to help the ship turn. And if this ship beats this other ship, which I don't think it will, because his control room and cockpit are in the back, or mine is right here. As you can see, like, this is a bad place to put it. Holsup rethought it and put it back here, which is the better place to put it. So even though I now have lost a friend of the ship, now the ship is just stuck.
I'm going to sleep now.
Okay.
I want to stay awake.
I'll put you to bed soon, okay? Alright, I guess that's my cue. Alright, so if you enjoyed this content, please feel free to hit the like button. Helps me out a ton. Helps to push out this content to other people, bring awareness to it. If you like, please feel free to leave me a comment down below. Tell me what you like, tell me what you don't like, especially what you don't like, so that I can improve and make better content. If you have not already, please feel free to subscribe. If you don't want to subscribe, that's okay as well. Come back once a week, once a month. Check out what content I have. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for watching. And you all have a wonderful rest of your day.